Been some time since I recorded one of these. Today I'm going to be talking about Vidocq. Came out 2001. It's a French movie directed by Pitoff. The alternate title for the movie is Dark Portals, The Chronicles of Vidocq. Got Gerard Depardieu starring in the main role, which was originally supposed to go to Daniel Auteuil, another famous French actor, but scheduling conflicts got in the way, so Senor Mr. Depardieu took his place as Vidocq. It's a true character in history. He wrote his memoirs a long time ago in the 1800s, and he's been turned into somewhat of a fictional character from a TV series in France twice, miniseries, 70s and maybe the 80s, and then now Vidocq, my first time seeing it, came out in 2001. Okay, so this movie starts out quite of a rush. We're mid-pursuit, Vidocq chasing down this mirrored mask criminal into these like dank dungeons. It's very fast-paced. If I mentioned it, 1080p camera, handheld digital, first time being used, to good effect. Gives lots of mobility, and also special effects are much easier, probably less dollars have to be expended in order to process them rather than having to digitize the film, put digital effects and turn it back into film. At least back then they used to screen movies in film and digital. I'm not precisely sure on the timeline, but I definitely know all theaters weren't digital back then. But so yeah, Depardieu chases this guy and it ends not so well for him, but there's kind of a literal cliffhanger and some mysterious elements involving what's behind the mask, basically. So then movie begins doing this thing where it cuts forwards and backwards in time, and we find some young reporter antsy to find out the details of Vidocq's case. He says he's writing a biography, and he goes to Vidocq's former partner Nimier, and we follow him. He becomes one of the main characters throughout. His name's Boisset, and he's this young guy who seems very interested in the goings-on and take the mantle that Vidocq had left behind. So we cut back and forth from the present to the past, seeing the moments Vidocq's case where he's investigating some murders. This is quite a mystery movie going on, but Vidocq is tasked to investigate the deaths of 2 cannon factory workers, and in doing so he finds some mysterious goings-on that lead him over the course of the back and forth flashbacks to some character who seems to possess magical powers. So this movie's definitely got a lot of going for it in the special effects department. They're not the greatest, but it gets an A for atmosphere and for paving the way on new ground that seems many people missed on its first run through, me being one of them. So as the movie goes, it seems somewhat convoluted, but because of the fast pace and constant energy and stylish characters, I think we can ignore some of the shoddier effects and, like, say, background templates, because some of those movies, it's almost like a rough draft for something more magnificent. Maybe that's future career. I don't know, it could have been channeling the future Catwoman, which, having viewed that recently, I think is underrated, and in terms of delivering what it set out to do, I think it totally enveloped its projections and came out probably just what the filmmakers and cast and crew intended. So it's up to the audiences to interpret that movie and this one as well. So I'm glad to be able to catch this, and I like how it's a different kind of Gerard Depardieu movie. He's intimidating, he's fast, and he's truly embodies the character of Vidocq, who's a French historical character in real life. And then the present day story with the biographer Etienne Boisset is quite fascinating, and there's some very major twists and turns, especially the last quarter of the movie, that basically demand a rewatch of the film, which I did. And it's a very layered movie, and it's quite fascinating, the climactic bit and the whole mirrored mask, and how this alchemist character has a mirrored mask that he's actually using to suck the souls of the victims when they die. They see their own deaths, and in the process he captures their souls, and it gives him eternal youth. So he actually lured some other people by developing an elixir to these vain rich men, and that would allow them to live forever by never aging. And the guy must be using it on himself, and the revelation under the mirror mask is quite a disturbing one of the more major twists and turns I've seen in a film in a long time, and has like Fight Club type vibes, just in a different kind of twist and turn. But basically I just watched the whole movie over again to see how it held up, and it's a tightly constructed storyline and was a visceral film, and I'd like to see more from Pytoff. Quite a visionary filmmaker. And I know Marc Caro, one of the duels of Jean-Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro, Jeunet and Caro, they did Delicatessen, City of Lost Children. He was like the set designer, and I know they were thanking Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and that's probably the number one thing in this movie is the backgrounds and all the little details, and the atmosphere just makes it one of those films that you can just kind of live in and forget about everything. And it reminds me of movies back in the day, like Blade Runner and stuff, that just total escapist entertainment. So Vidocq, aka Dark Portals, Chronicles of Vidocq, is quite an interesting piece that I'm glad to be watching now. It feels like I've seen it, maybe in a way, but it's brand new at the same time. For trivia, first feature film shot with the new Sony Digital 1080p 24 FPS, that's frames per second, cameras to reach the screen, a year before Star Wars Episode II Attack of the Clones. Might have mentioned that. A few short scenes, however, were shot using DV format, 576 interlaced 25 FPS, frames per second, for artistic purposes. I think those were like, from watching the movie, they felt like anytime it was a POV shot, it would be with that camera, so it was quite fitting. You'd know it was POV because it seemed different. So for artistic purposes, like I said, only those special effects shots were deinterlaced by means of smart field blending, imitating a progressive type amount of motion blur due to a different shutter speed of progressive modes. During post-production, as the special effects crew obviously was in demand of progressive frames, which are easier to process. Normal shots were in no need of deinterlacing thanks to progressive scan HD cameras. The results are video-like appearance of motion in DV shots due to the different amount of motion blur resulting from the different deinterlacing methods, and distinctive film-like motions for the dominant 1080p by 24 shots otherwise. This is Film Geek speak, so if you're interested, there's a lot more you can learn. The film featured 800 shots modified in post-production over a period of 8 months at a cost of over £20 million. That's $25 million. And then the Finnish cello band Apocalyptica used clips from the film in the music video for their cult track Hope Volume 2, with Matthias Sayer of Farmer Boys providing extra recorded vocals, which served as the film's ending theme. Yes, I don't see a whole lot of movies with metal songs on the credits, and albeit this is one of the lighter metal songs using cellos instead of distortion guitars, they are still metal nonetheless. So it put the seal of approval for me after the preceding movie. Basically gave me the green light to just start watching the movie again. First time I watched it was in French subtitles. Second time I watched it in English so I got to savor the visuals a little better while listening a little bit more hammy dialogue. But I think the movie kind of is balanced in both ways, so it gave me a clear perspective. This movie is just the visceral nature of the whole film. The atmosphere obviously needs a lot more polish, but just how the energy behind everything and the characterizations and the beauty and quirkiness of France and historical France is magnificently captured, and the beautiful women and, you know, the seedy side of French, but also finding beauty in the seedy side. That's where this movie excels. So I'm glad to have caught Vidocq, and the actress again, Inès Sastre, it's pretty, I'd like to see if she's still making films. Hopefully she's still around too. It kind of reminds me of my original film that I reviewed, first one, or I edited at least. It was called Cash Truck, aka Le Convoyeur. So having taken a break, I'm glad to be now watching Vidocq, aka Dark Portals, the Chronicles of Vidocq. Gerard Depardieu, one of the great French actors who's been able to successfully transpose himself in American film as well. Peaks being like My Father the Hero and 1492, Conquest of Paradise, and Green Card, albeit, you know, older films, but he was also in a movie that I reviewed recently, Paris, Je t'aime, Paris, I Love You. He's a bartender or something in a skit. In fact, he might have directed that one, if I'm recalling correctly. So Depardieu is big shoes to fill, and he fills them very well here. Okay, so that's my thoughts and opinions on Vidocq, 2001 by Vidocq, who would later go on to direct Catwoman, and also a dragon movie, which seems fairly interesting. It wound up made for TV, but I'm going to be checking it out very soon here, because this is quite a visionary director who I feel is underrated and needs more output. So I'm glad to have shared my thoughts and opinions on Vidocq here with you, and I'm glad to be doing these reviews again, and I hope to be doing more, be a little less chatty and more straight to the point. Working on it now, so until my next review, this is Nicholas on Film.
Cette histoire-là, c'est de l'esbrouf. C'est pas parce que deux bonhommes se font ratatiner par la foudre que...
Un homme foudroyé, c'est un accident. Deux hommes foudroyés, c'est un complot. Belmont était le plus important fabricant d'armes de France. Viraldi était chimiste. Il fabriquait de la poudre explosive à partir de n'importe quoi.
Et alors?
C'est pas le moment d'être fait de ce côté-là. Pas le moment du tout.
Vous croyez quoi? Une attaque des Prussiens? Ce sont eux qui vous ont mis sur le trône.
Je redoute une attaque de l'intérieur.
Et qui la faute?
Rappelez-vous, Vidocq. Vous avez jusqu'au prochain orage.
Je vous propose un marché.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez à vendre?
Ce que vous cherchez. La jeunesse éternelle.
Pourquoi vous prévenez pas la police?
J'attends mon heure. Je connaîtrai bientôt le nom de celui qui a tout manigancé, celui qui a inspiré les trois pervers. Vidocq et moi, on était sur la même piste.
Quelle piste?
La soufflerie, bien sûr.
Until next time.